Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
One of the 49ers rookies, or players in general, that was able to stand out and show out through OTAs, minicamp, whatever you want to call them, it was the rookie, Jordan the Gauntlet Watkins, went out there and just made a lot of people really happy because, Brandon Ayuk's not practicing. Ricky Pearsall's injured again with a hamstring issue. So it left a lot of snaps for the rookies to get some work with Brock Purdy in the ones, and he took advantage of it. You have to give credit where credit is due. And so if you guys have, stuck with us in the 49ers Rush since, the draft coverage leading up to the draft, after the draft, all those things, my biggest question mark of the 49ers draft, which I thought that they did a great draft, was Jordan Watkins in the 4th round. I was not a fan. And so allow me just to add some context to why I felt that way. And I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do. I did not I watched Jordan Watkins and I evaluated the Ole Miss tape in their skill positions, and I chose to not rank him. I think we ranked 340 plus players because it just would have been a bad evaluation. And a lot of it's the Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, Bryles scheme where players take plays off. They coach them to do that. They do not block hard. They tell them to loaf. And so I can't stand that. Me personally, as a former coach, that is I can't do it. I just can't. So I did not even have a 7th round grade on him. He would have been an undrafted free agent, and not even one of the top undrafted free agents for me. But the 49ers loved him. And so, again, not my guy, but I hope he dominates, and I hope he becomes a legend. So let's go through and let's figure out why the 49ers liked him so much. Jordan Watkins comes in number 57 on our list this year, and very wide numbers as far as our 4, where we ranked him: 54, 61, 33, and 57. So we're kind of all over the place on him. This is his rookie year. He's wearing jersey number 17. That's a major red flag, but whatever. I digress. It's just a number. I don't believe in that stuff too much, but seeing number 17 out there, I don't like that at all. 5'11", 196, 29-inch arms. He is in the bottom 3% of NFL wide receivers in arm length. Tiny hands. 23 years old already. He did run a 4.37 40-yard dash, which that's 89th percentile of NFL wide receivers. That's great. And the first thing that Kyle Shanahan said whenever he was asked about him, Kyle Shanahan said, quote, "Love his speed." It's the first thing you notice. When you see a guy for the first time, you look at his 40 time. Then you watch his routes at the combine. I thought he was one of the better route runners at the combine, just with natural receiver skills and everything. So speed, check. 4.3 speed, that's awesome. You look at his 10-yard burst, 1.53. That's 64th percentile of wide receivers. He gets off the line quick. Didn't do the 3-cone, which we're in that kind of era where guys just don't do drills they're not good at. Change of direction's not his skill set. Probably what Jordan Watkins does best, and this is why we call him the Gauntlet. Kyle Shanahan talked about how good he was in the Gauntlet. Both of the front personnel guys talked about the Gauntlet. Lynch talked about the Gauntlet. They love what he did. That's the drill in the combine where you run, catch this way, turn, catch that way, turn, catch that way, and you just keep your speed. He's smooth through transitions. Not change of direction quick, shifty, just glides out there. He's like the Iceman running routes. He's a glider. Keeps his speed and just smooth. And so, whenever you look at different passing concepts, those deep in breakers, the drift route concept, all those things, that is huge. Think about all those routes where Debo runs 12 to 14, breaks in, and catches that ball in the middle of that zone when Purdy throws the needle, and you got to catch it and just keep your speed. There's a direct translation to the Kyle Shanahan passing offensive schematics to, man, can you catch the ball while running full speed, keep your speed, and that's where the yak comes from. Well, Jordan Watkins can do that in a drill. Was not asked to do that very much at Ole Miss at all. Almost all of his work were vertical routes, which I think that's his best route. He can stack corners very, very well. Fades, go routes, stop and goes, posts, skinny posts. That's where he got almost all of his production in college. 36.5-inch vertical, above average. 9'11 broad jump, right at average. Didn't do the bench press, and he doesn't look like he has a lot of functional strength to him. You watch him block, not aggressive at all. Literally, he got a little bit of Jake Brindle to him in the run game, where he will just stop and watch the guy he was supposed to block make a tackle. Every single game I've graded on him, which I did 4, he does not try hard at all blocking. But he talks about how he's a dog and he loves football, and so I'm hoping that's an Ole Miss thing, because Ole Miss does not teach you to do that. They do not coach you to do that. They literally say, take this play off because you're going to run a go route next. So you have to kind of coach some of these bad habits out of his tape. And you put together the highlights, Jordan Watkins, you love it. And, we have our breakdowns up on the entire rookie class on the 49ersrush.com and our Patreon. And, on my bold letters on my Jordan Watkins breakdown is, do not watch this if you want to be a fan of Jordan Watkins, because there's 15 plays that just oh my gosh, this guy does not care about football at all. But that's an Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, Briles system I just can't get over. I can't stand players in that scheme. Now, you plug all of his measurables, Jordan Watkins, into the mock draftable database, and man, there's a lot of comps. This year's Kyle Williams, not the old 49ers, the guy out of Washington State, that's his number one match, and I loved Kyle Williams. Mecole Hardman, Roman Wilson, John Mechie, Jalen Royals, Ladd McConkey, and Zay Flowers. Now, you have to understand with Ladd McConkey, Zay Flowers, he didn't do the 3-cone. So the one thing that separates, Zay Flowers and Ladd McConkey from all other wide receivers is that 3-cone. Well, that doesn't compute in that. So those I almost left off, but you talk height, weight, speed. He's got the pedigree. He's built the correct way. Almost all those guys have had success in the NFL. There's a lot of guys like him. How is it going to translate? His full name, Tyrell Jordan Watkins, born February 15th, 2002. Doesn't that make you feel old whenever you hear somebody born in 2002? Born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. Went to Butler High School there. And, was the 24th ranked athlete in the country. Wasn't quite sure where he would fit, whether it's running back, DB, wide receiver, just kind of out there. 3-star recruit guy. And, he was a track guy, ran a 10.9 100 meter, decent, 22.5. Now, that's good in the 200. That's probably his best event. And a 53.3 in the 400. Not good. But that 200, and that's the thing. You look at his combine, his 10-yard split, he's got top-end speed, and he can maintain that. Not necessarily elite acceleration, but that top-end gear, you see him stacking corners on that fade route. That's probably his go-to, what he does very well. Went to Louisville for 2 years, then transferred to Ole Miss. And, you kind of look at what he did. At Louisville, he saw action in 22 games. Didn't really do a lot. Averaged 44 yards receiving a game, which is decent. Was second on the team in receiving yards, had 4 touchdowns. He was a punt returner, decent, just nothing really special. So then he transfers to Ole Miss, which is, he went from not having a starting role to transferring to Ole Miss, and was kind of a rotational guy, kind of the number 3, number 4 wide receiver. And, his senior year in 2024, he kind of catches a break. And I don't really know. He wasn't even a starter as a senior for Ole Miss until Trey Harris, who went in the second round, to the Chargers, got injured. Whenever he got injured, he stepped in and took over that starting outside wide receiver job, and he sees the record. He sees the opportunity. It was awesome. He finished with 142 receptions, 2,000 yards, 14 touchdowns. That's over 2 seasons at Ole Miss, and pretty solid work. It really, he's one of 11 Ole Miss wide receivers to break the 2,000 career yard mark. Earned all SEC honorable mention his senior year, all those things. Had 9 touchdowns, led the team, which was huge. And really a lot of his production came down to 2 games. The bowl game, which he went ham against, Duke, which was awesome. 7 catches, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then against Arkansas, maybe one of the best games in the history of college football, 8 catches, 254 yards, 5 touchdowns in one game. Now, the rest of his games, a little lackluster, not really fun to watch, kind of frustrating. But those 2 games, and Kyle Shanahan loves this, if you are a skill position player, whether you're a running back or wide receiver, and you could take over a game by yourself,
Shanahan loves that. Absolutely loves that. And on top of that, the next thing that Kyle Shanahan loves is how you perform in all-star games. Well, guess what? He was named the co-offensive player of the week, for the East-West Shrine Bowl. So, he goes and performs. Jackson Dart was the other co-player, teammates, whatever. But when you could perform against a bunch of future NFL players, that's gigantic. And so he's been able to, his stars rising. Again, he wasn't even a starter in college to start this season. Injury happens. He takes advantage of the opportunity, starts the ascent, has some astronomical game. One of the games of his life is the bowl game. Then he goes to Shrine Bowl, shows out. Then he goes to the Combine, shows out. And so it's just, man, is this the, we're hitting this just huge uptick of production and showing out in the biggest moments possible. Can that continue? I really, really hope that it can for Jordan Watkins. And, they go draft him in the 4th round, last pick in the 4th round, pick 138 overall. This was a compensation pick that you got for Chase Young. So it's bonus. And as much as people like me maybe don't like the Jordan Watkins pick, dude, this is extra. This is gravy. I did think that it was an incredible reach, but that's okay. And there were a lot of guys that I really, really liked that were still on the board. Marcus Bow, DJ Giddens, Jeffrey Bossa, Aronde Godson, the tight end, Denzel Burke, which still got a major need at outside corner. But Kyle Shanahan said this, quote, "We wanted to add a receiver in this draft. We didn't know where it would be, and we are glad we got him," end quote. So, as always, Kyle Shanahan will spend the most on wide receivers, draft the most wide receivers, and still need more wide receivers. You drafted 2 receivers last year, and just keep going. And didn't spend in free agency, spent on wide receiver. Got DeMarcus Robinson. Got to draft another one. Got to bring in the highest price undrafted free agent, another wide receiver. Like, Kyle Shanahan will always go after wide receivers, which makes it kind of comical because the 49ers run the least wide receiver sets in the NFL. But I digress. Now, let's look at the collective of what Jordan Watkins has put together, okay? Just in 2024. Played 12 games, 600 snaps, only started 8, right? He didn't start until Trey Harris got hurt. But got 42 passes on 60 targets, 726 yards, 17.3 yards per reception. That's huge. And again, that offense, RPOs, crazy, crazy, crazy. Throw the ball down the field, fades, post, stop and goes, all that kind of stuff. 7 touchdowns, had a drop rate of 4.5%. Solid. That's not bad. 253 yards after the catch. That's an average of 6 yards after the catch per reception. Again, he got most of those stacking corners on vertical routes. And those 2 games were just insane. Already signed his rookie contract. That's good news. 4-year contract for $4.8 million. $665,000 fully guaranteed. He's getting paid. I like to see that. Played some on special teams as a returner, but I doubt he's going to find his way into the mix on that. Maybe as a kick returner, but probably not as a punt returner. But we'll see what that looks like. Now, again, goes out there, dominates OTAs, minicamp, takes advantage of his opportunity. Where have you heard this before? Trey Harris gets hurt, boom, dominates. Well, Ricky Pearsall, Brandon Ayuk hurt. Guess what? He dominates. Here's 2 quotes from Brock Purdy. Quote, "Definitely a rookie that has popped out in front of everyone," end quote. That's Brock Purdy. And then Purdy goes on to say, he's balling, man. Jordan Watkins has been balling from day one, really, end quote. Can you keep going? The 49ers need a wide receiver. Now, my biggest question is Kyle Shanahan does not trust rookie wide receivers. It doesn't matter where you're drafted. Hey, you can go back through and, like, Jacob Cowing last year, right? Similar draft position, 4 catches, 80 yards, no touchdowns. Like, late round, day 3, wide receiver, Ronnie Bell, 6 catches, 68 yards. He had 3 touchdowns, though. All right, Danny Gray, 1 catch, 10 yards his rookie year. Trent Taylor, he's probably the most, but he was drafted back in 2017 when you were switching regimes and all that stuff. 43 catches, 430 yards, 2 touchdowns. As even if Jordan Watkins is elite and earns a role, it's pretty hard to find a way for him to catch more than 20 balls and more than 200 yards in this offense just because Kyle doesn't trust rookie wide receivers. Maybe Watkins is the exception to that rule. But, like, you can even look at Dante Pettis, right? Second-round pick they traded up for, and that was on a bad team. 27 catches, 467 yards, 5 touchdowns. All right, well, Ricky Pearsall, I know he had to overcome those injuries, the shooting, all that. 31 catches, 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. And only 2 wide receivers have contributed in a heavy way their rookie year, and that was Ayuk and Debo, right at about 800 yards apiece for both of them. So Jordan Watkins is making this roster. But the Shanahan way for wide receivers is wait and see. Like, Jacob Cowing should earn a bigger role this year, and I think that he will out-snap, out-catch, and out-yardage Jordan Watkins. But I would be so stoked if Jordan Watkins is that guy that finally just says, hey, kind of like Dominique Pooney did last year, my chances here, I've already started to show out. It continues in training camp, leads in the preseason, and is just too damn good that you can't get him you have to get him snaps. You got to get him out there. That's best case, because this is, again, my least favorite pick of all 11 draft picks. I thought I don't like it. But can't hold that against Jordan Watkins, and he's got a 49ers uniform on. So, like, you want the best things. I hope he goes out there and dominates. It's going to be hard to see him factor in there, maybe with the suspension to Demarcus Robinson, the Ayuk injury. There are outside wide receiver snaps available. I just think that the vets will get first crack at that, and maybe after the bye week, Jordan Watkins factors into a role, but there's young guys ahead of him, and there's veterans ahead of him. We will see. Jordan Watkins, glad that you are with the 49ers. Man, prove me wrong. Please, I want you to, because he just seems like a good damn kid, and he does have a lot of traits, and there is a lot of positive stuff surrounding him. I hope he takes that and just runs with it. Thank you to Ben, Josh, and Zach, executive producers of this series. And for us, number 57, Jordan Watkins on this list. We're just going to keep counting them down.